one update. We have cues now. We didn't have cues last time.
No Haqq podcast. It is Haqq
Haqq
podcast.
And my mic is louder, guys. I'm sorry.
And mine is lower.
We fixed the things you guys asked us to.
We pay attention. But
We listen to our viewers. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Haqq Project.
We are so excited. Yeah, I mean, like, look, we came out excited.
وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي وغرامي علي مولى علي مولى علي أنا حبي علي.
So, Musarad, how are you feeling about episode 2?
I am so excited, low key. Every time I wake up knowing that this episodes to film, I get so hyped. I couldn't sleep. I woke up at Fajr for namaz, and then I ended up staying up an extra half an hour because I was planning more notes, and I just couldn't I don't know.
I get you. And even me in the bus this morning, me and you are messaging each other
literally,
okay, wait, we got to talk about this. And I think it's just so beautiful that the topics that we're looking into discussing are coming from a genuine passion. And I think that based on our listeners' feedbacks, we've heard that they're genuinely appreciating how we are genuinely interested in what we're doing.
Even the tips and stuff that you guys have been giving us, we're taking it in and we're actually using it to make sure our future episodes are even bigger and better.
Definitely. So we're going to start off with doing a dua that Prophet Musa has taught us, as we also did in episode 1. I will proceed with the Arabic and Musarad will continue with the English. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli.
In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. My Lord, expand for me my chest, and ease for me my task, and untie the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my speech.
Ameen.
Ameen. All right, so let's continue on. So, do we start off by telling them the topic?
Okay.
Our topic for today is going to be tawakkul. Tawakkul and hope.
In terms of defining tawakkul, it's really trusting in Allah's plan. No matter what happens, whatever Allah decrees for you in your life, it's trusting that. Whether we like it, whether we don't like it, however we feel about it, we're just going to trust Allah's plan and know that what He's planned for us and what He's doing for us is the best.
I like to think of it as Allah's the best of writers, and He wrote our stories in the most perfect way. So there's nothing we could do to change it or make it better because He has made it so perfect for us. It's like how I know this is a really funny example, but we watch shows and such, and then we see their stories and we're like, oh my God, someone wrote such a good story for this person. But we don't realize that our story is written by the best of writers and the best of planners. So we have a beautiful story of our lives regardless of what we want it to be like. Because a lot of the times we want things and we hope for things, we don't realize the effect it has on us.
I definitely would agree to that. In terms of when we look at tawakkul, it's even trusting that, if something that we think is good for us, like you said, if we think something is good for us, it may not be good for us. And it's just knowing that what Allah is decreeing for us is, again, the best for us.
I have a Quran ayah that I think can fit really well into this. I'm going to read the first half of the ayah. So it's verse number 12, surah number 14, surah Ibrahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And why should we not rely upon Allah while He has guided us to our good ways? And I think that's really nice way to think about tawakkul. And it's because Allah has really guided us in the best of ways, no matter what our story is, as we were saying previously. So I think that part of the ayah, I really liked it to fit into this situation.
When we look into defining tawakkul, I think what comes to my mind is, accepting our fate regardless of how it makes us feel. If I feel like something is harmful to me, but I know that that's Allah's decree and I accept that, I'm now having tawakkul.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was not going to accept that and I was going to, put a blame, whether that blame goes on externally in my life on other things, people, or even if I put it towards God and I say, oh God, why'd you do this to me? Why am I going through this right now? I don't deserve this. If I have that kind of a mindset, and I won't feel that inner peace, I won't feel at peace and at ease, right? And that in essence, it means that I don't have tawakkul, or I don't have enough tawakkul.
Right, I agree. It's really about having full faith in whatever is set for you is right for you, regardless of what we think. Because again, we're just humans.
Yes.
We don't realize how much power Allah really has, and sometimes we don't realize how much power and how much strength Allah really has, and the extent of who He is. And once we realize all of that stuff, we can accept more that everything He has in store for us and whatever He has planned is good and it's right and it's the best of what we could have. And I think it really helps with living a more positive mindset and living a more positive life and being more grateful for all the things we have.
For one of the benefits that definitely come from having tawakkul in our everyday life, I would say, is like one, you said, the positive mindset. And, two, it's feeling like Allah is sufficient for us. No explanation is needed for the trials that we may face, or, if we're going through any challenges and deep losses in our lives. Yeah, like we have that hope, right? Like
in our heart.
Yeah, because it feels like you have someone very close to you, and that's God, obviously, and no person can replace that. Right before we started the podcast episode, I'm a little bit on a time crunch, and I was worried that I'm not going to be able to, get everything together in this episode, but feeling like, okay, I have tawakkul that everything will go well.
Yeah.
And just, leaving it all to Allah and saying, I can do the best I can do, and now I leave it to Allah. And I think
really helps. It really helps in making the day go so much smoother, because a lot of the time I feel like the reason our days get a little bit more tough is because we keep telling ourselves that it's going to be hard and that like something's not going the way we want it to go. But if we just remember that it's not in our hands, then everything, you just feel like it's like a freedom. It's like a weight off your shoulders, because it's a big weight when you're stressed, and just letting go of that weight and being like, you know what? Allah's got this for me.
100%.
Everything just goes so much better. And you feel like it goes better. And at the end of the day, you're like, Alhamdulillah, everything went so good today.
Yes.
Even if it didn't go how you planned it to go.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think based on what you said, I think what would be great for us to move on to talking about is some of the advice that Sheikh Bilal Asad shared with us. He offered this four-step advice for when we face problems or struggles. Number one, you want to identify the problem. Know exactly what the problem is. For example, is the problem your exams, or is it that you're short on money? Are you struggling with an addiction? Whatever the problem is that you're experiencing, acknowledge that and truly come to terms with what that issue is. And then number two is just giving up our problems to Allah, right? And saying, Ya Allah, like, I have been struggling with this. And being honest. I think it comes down to the second advice is have an honest conversation with Allah and say, if that's in sajda, or if that's like out loud in your room, but just saying, I'm going to let this go.
There's certain du'as that I read the English definition to, which are what helped me kind of remember. Before we even started this podcast today, like, I texted Sakina and I was like, thank you for picking this topic, because we were doing this topic, I opened up my books again, which I read Saif Sajadiya's English definitions, and I read that page again, which I constantly used to be reading to give me that hope. I felt so much better about the whole week and the whole month, and it's a reminder to let go. It's a reminder to let go. I'll read to you guys later. It's a specific, it's the Whispers of Hope from Saif Sajadiya by Imam Zainul Abidin. We'll go into that in a minute.
And then the third advice is to not have any expectations after this prayer. So don't expect a particular result. Don't say, okay, I'm only going to feel good if Allah gives me this. If Allah fixes my situation, I'm going to feel...
That's not always going to happen.
Exactly. And there's no exact timeline for Allah fixing the situation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then number 4 would be to do whatever you can in your power to be able to change the situation, or to be able to better impact the situation.
Yeah, I see that. So kind of doing what's in your control, because we have to trust in Allah, but Allah never said to not actually try for yourself.
Exactly.
It's like when you're studying for an exam, you can't just, I'm not going to study. I'm just going to leave it to Allah to kind of make me pass.
Right.
You still have to do what's in your control and what He gave you to be able to better the situation. And then past that point, you can't do anything else after that.
And that comes back to like our dua that we recite before this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm,
In terms
definitely.
of asking Allah to please help us to be able to express what we want to say fluently. And, we came here and we prepared beforehand, because if we didn't prepare beforehand, then how are we going to be able to speak?
Yeah, we can't just do the dua and just start talking, because we would have no information to share.
Yeah.
But we actually sit and prepare for it.
And I think one thing I do want to clarify is when Musarad had mentioned that, we chose this topic, it's because we actually prepared for a different topic beforehand.
Yeah, that's really funny. I was so excited for this topic, but I am beyond grateful that we chose to do this topic.
Life happens. We have tawakkul,
I liked that topic, and we do need it in society. We'll come back to it eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is, but at this time frame that I'm in right now, in this phase of life that I'm in, I needed this topic.
Yeah.
It's just a constant reminder.
We both had a calling. Like, for me, it was, I need a different topic. Like, this was not the one that was sitting with me in the moment. And I think especially when I come on a platform to, give the best advice I can give and do justice to a topic, I want to be able to strongly connect. And you actually mentioned this topic. You said, okay, we could do tawakkul, because I was
did?
Yes, you did, because what happened was I said, can we do a different topic? And you said, okay, tawakkul, and I was like, yes, because that, for me, I think it was the both
That's
of
really
us.
funny. I love that.
It worked out.
It worked out, yeah. It's really funny. I was I was kind of sad, because I was like, tawakkul is so positive. But that's a good thing.
Yes, of course.
Clearly,
and
that
honestly,
mindset was in my head for a reason.
It's so positive, which is such a good thing. But it's actually a way out of our difficulties, right? Because you're stuck in like this bubble of like darkness, and then if you have tawakkul, you'll never get into those disparities. You'll never, or not to say you'll never.
You'll get into them, but you'll be more happy.
You'll be able to
through
get out
them.
faster. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of situation.
And I think it's that you realize, I don't have control over everything. Allah does. And,
literally.
I wanted to actually get into the story of Sheikh Bilal Asad.
She just sent this to me this morning.
Yes.
I've only seen his videos on Instagram and whatnot, but this story actually related really well to our topic, so she'll go into it. It's really good.
It really moved me. He opens up about a very difficult time that he experienced that I'm sure still touches him till this day. Death is something that is, you can't just get over it. It's more like, how do you deal with it? What do you take from it? How can you move on with life when you lose those that are the closest to you, that you love so much? And
it's a very, very difficult process.
And I don't think that, it ever ends in terms of the grief that you could feel.
It's literally only tawakkul. There's nothing else you can do but have tawakkul in that situation.
You'd fall into never-ending depression. Like, you can't get out of that, because you'll be stuck. But if you have tawakkul and you trust that Allah's plan, this is what was meant to be, and even if someone like an atheist, for example, I'm sure the only way that they could get through this situation was saying, it's not in my control, I have to leave it. When you give your closure comes from Allah, and you say, if you tell yourself it's
there
in
is
God's
a
plan,
higher being that is taking this away from us.
And I guess getting back to Bilal Asad's story, he witnessed his son and his brother die right in front of him in a time where they had a family getaway, and they were, having a great time, a fun time, and he witnessed them two tragically dying in front of him. And he describes how this story, it definitely made him have more tawakkul and trust in Allah. And he just had to take the best from the situation. And
when I think about that type of situation where he's like, I saw my family dying in front of my face, I know this is like really deep to go into, but I immediately went to Karbala, because I'm like, imagine their whole family, that Imam Hussein alayhi salam had to see that in front of his eyes. And it really brings our respect to them and the type of tawakkul that he had, because we want to get to that level of tawakkul, because wow, it's insane. But this story just reminded me of that. But
no, that's
keep
very
going.
True. It's to say that
Interesting connection.
Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the Ahlul Bayt truly had a high level of tawakkul.
They had it, and that's what helps them go through so many tragedies that we read about and hear about. This different tragedies they went through, and sometimes we can't fathom how they got through those things.
Truly.
Until we realize.
I think that also reminded me of Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. He was, he got stuck in the belly of the whale, and he still prayed to Allah even in those moments, knowing that Allah will help me, because who else will help me, right? Like,
Right.
it's because there's no one that can truly control a situation beyond our abilities other than Allah. Right?
Definitely.
Like, we can only help ourselves, but then
To a certain
exactly,
extent.
we can only help ourselves to a certain extent, and even how much we can help ourselves is because of Allah.
We were gonna go into a little bit about how to practice tawakkul, or some ways that we have done that kind of helped us in our tawakkul. Because again, youth podcast, so we're just talking about our personal like experiences. For me personally, something that really helped, as I said, was reading Sayf Sajadiya. There's different duas in this Sayf Sajadiya. Now there's a few that I really liked. There was the Whispers of Hope, the Whispers of Thankfulness, but the one in this context that I think fits so beautifully was the Whispers of Hope. I'm just gonna open it up over here. I'm just gonna put it down here. But
Do you want to give some context on this book?
okay, this book is written by our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin, and it's his duas that he used to recite in different situations. So there's many different, like, it's the supplications of anything. Like, let me just pick a random page, but hold on. Like the supplications of distress and the supplications for his children or for parents, like any type of duas that he did were basically, he wrote them down, and so we can also use of them. And the definitions I find are so beautiful. The one that I really liked was the Whispers of Hope. And I'm going to pick a certain part of it, and I'm just going to read it out, and then I'll go into why. Like, every time I read this, it hits me on a different level. So it says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How should I have hope in other than thee, when the good, all of it, is in thy hand? How should I expect from others, when thine are the creation of the command? Should I cut off my hope for thee, when thou hast shown me from thy bounty, for that which I have not asked? Okay, that specific part always hits me, because it reminds me that how can I forget someone that gave me so much even when I didn't ask for it? And then it's like, it really brings that, like, have faith in Allah, because he did so much for us even when we didn't need it, or we didn't like want it, or we didn't think we needed it. And on a daily basis, we get blessings on blessings on blessings that we don't notice.
Yeah.
And this, every time I read this, it reminds me, it's like, it hits me that, like, wait, like, we don't even see those things, but they're there. And then there's one more part here. It's just, how should I forget thee, while thou never cease remembering me? Even when we forget Allah and we don't like think about him in certain times of the day, like we accidentally like just forget that he gives us everything and forget to be grateful, he still continues to give.
Yeah.
He never stops. And it gives me in my heart that love for Allah that I need.
That reflection in itself, in this topic, that we know, when we're talking about this topic in this podcast, my energy just immediately like got grounded, you know, because
We just feel alhamdulillah, you feel grateful.
Yeah.
So one of the names of Allah that we did want to bring up was Al-Khalil, the creator. Do you want to talk about it?
one of Allah's names being Al-Khalil, I've written just here, you know, what we've taken from that and understanding that Allah is the creator is not just that Allah creates things physically for us. The way our body works and functions is done so particularly, and it is working that way and perfectly because of Allah, right?
Something that actually came to mind from what you were saying right there was, there was this one course I did from the Babul Rida website. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I've done a course from there, and the whole course came down to everything that we do and everything that we have has to have a creator. It doesn't make sense for there to be nothing that created everything we have. Allah is the creator, and he not only created us, physical things, he is also in control of everything that we have non-physically and all the experiences we have and everything.
Exactly. Like he creates, you know, even though we have the ability to influence the decisions we make and influence the ways that our life goes, it doesn't mean that now, I create it all. No.
Yeah, no, you
Allah
didn't have
still-
full control over it.
Exactly. And it's that Allah has full control over it because we exist because of him. Even when we cannot understand where our life is headed or how we will achieve certain visions of ours, we have to trust that what Allah has created for us in terms of our path and in terms of the way that our life is going, we understand that Allah has paved that.
There was another verse that I have placed here. I placed a lot of verses to hope and tawakkul because it's something that I do research on a lot. Like I have my English definition Quran that I go to a lot when I need to kind of feel like I'm talking to Allah, and the fact that I have answers from Him. Surah Al-Shu'ara, ayah number 62, and it says, "Indeed, with me is my Lord, and He will guide me." And I have this up. I also had it up in my room for a while, and I would always look at it anytime I was like, I don't know, in some type of worry, in some type of concern, and I'm like, no, Allah is with me. Yeah. And He will guide me through this situation. Whatever it is, it's gonna go. It's gonna pass. Yeah. And that's another thing I like to do. I like to have the ayahs up and around me because I'm a very visual person, so I need to see it.
And it's like, and you're gonna be reminded that I'm not alone. If we were stuck in this world like alone and self-reliant upon ourselves, we wouldn't be at peace, right? But because even amidst all the struggles and the difficulties that we as individuals go through, and even around the world, others around the world who go through other difficulties, it's only by trusting in Allah that Allah is A, testing me, or B, this is something that I don't see as beneficial for me right now, but Allah knows better. I have to trust in Allah that whatever situation that I'm in, there is going to be khair that comes out of this.
As we were talking about this, I feel more at peace. Me too. I feel like we let go of a lot of our stresses today. Yeah. And it's really nice because I feel like throughout the rest of the month,
and inshallah after that. And I think we should revisit this topic.
We definitely should. And maybe we can have some guest speakers that can come insight themselves into this kind of topic. It's kind of beautiful. But another verse we wanted to come to. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا.
Oh, that one's on all of our necklaces.
Literally.
In terms of that ayat means verily with hardship comes ease.
Now, this is the one that's currently up in my room. So I kind of switch out my Quranic verses in my room, but currently it's surely with hardship comes ease, and I have it like in a big orange painting in my room. But
that is an affirmation in itself. Like some of these verses are affirmations. Literally. Where we're saying verily with hardship comes ease. If I keep telling myself that every morning, you're gonna see the light in the end of the tunnel. And you can't have, if you have empty affirmations where you just say something, then it's, when I say empty, I mean like if it's not connected to God and if it's not connected to this higher power, then it's not gonna not gonna be as like weighty. It's gonna be more empty, Yeah. It's gonna be where's the purpose in it? And it really gives us something to look at. It's like you're gaslighting yourself. But if I'm giving myself like an empty affirmation and I don't have Allah to rely on because I'm not connected through God in what I'm saying my affirmation for, then it's like for me, I think I'm gaslighting myself to believe something, But if I instead, know, like Allah is in control. When I say this, Allah is listening to me. Allah has given me this verse, has brought me this verse to read, to understand, to reflect on. Then I'm going to be able to, embody that. Something really interesting that just came to my mind was that I think you were my inspiration to read the English definitions of things. I'm not going to lie. Because when we went to Arba'een, you were reading the definitions of the ziyarat a lot more than the English. I mean, the Arabic, but you were reading the Arabic, but you're reading the English. And I was like, wait, the English exists. I read all the definitions of everything, like anything, duas, Quran, anything. I'm always reading the English definition. I feel like even when I'm reciting the surahs during namaz, sometimes if I find myself like, oh, I'm going too fast, I tell myself immediately, I'm like, go to the meaning, like I reflect on the meaning. Yeah. Because the reason that I might be going too fast is because I'm not remembering what I'm truly saying when I'm just reciting, like in Arabic. Definitely. Yeah. But this whole topic of tawakkul really brings me to something, because there's some people in the world that are really, really have the strongest tawakkul I've seen in a long time. And the people of Palestine, Sudan, Lebanon, Syria, anyone who's going through those type of struggles, they really have a different type of tawakkul. Something I saw that hit me differently was I saw a video on Instagram. There was this boy, and he had a wound or like some type of, I don't know if it was a cut or if he broke his arm, but they were fixing it without any anesthetics, any anesthesia, whatnot. And he was reciting Quran as they fixed it. And he seemed at so much peace. If I was in the hospital and they were like stitching me up, I'd probably be crying and screaming. But this kid was in complete peace. He was just reciting Quran. And I don't know, he seemed like he had a different level of connection to Allah, that Allah is giving them this as a test and they're okay with it. They repeat that so many times. Yeah.
And I think it I don't know, like I got so passionate really quickly because it really
It's
like
beautiful.
it hits your heart. As sad, it's so
as
depressing.
sad as it is, it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's like the same thing with when I was mentioning with Sheikh Bilal Asad when he lost like his brother and his son at the same time, seeing them die in front of his eyes.
Yeah.
And yet he was able to get back up from that because he didn't go into blaming Allah for the struggles that he was going through, or that, you know, Allah, why'd you take my family away from me? Like,
Honestly, like Karbala,
exactly.
they all had so much faith. They would stand. Bibi Zainab, she sat there and stood at the top of the hill and she said, I see nothing but beauty.
Yeah.
Bibi Zainab saw everything happening and she was like, no, I have faith in Allah and I see nothing but beauty in all that's happening.
So, just searching up, you know, what did Bibi Zainab really mean when she said, I see nothing but beauty? I'm reading here, you know, she saw beauty despite losing everything, except she never viewed it as a loss. She viewed it as a sacrifice and the will of Allah to keep Islam vibrant and strong.
She saw past the situation.
Exactly.
Oh my God, Maulana Rizvi talked about this.
Oh,
He talked about he talked about how a lot of the times if we look directly at like Earth or like our problem right here, we won't be able to get through it easier.
see
We
the
have to
wisdom
look
behind
past it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things if you look past the situation, there's much more like benefits from it or
Right.
like things that are coming out of it that we don't see until we look past it.
I'm going to give a very general example, but if you're struggling with time management skills and you were struggling to fit in namaz and your time with your friends and social time with everything in life, right? Maybe what Allah is doing is like allowing you to restructure a new life for yourself where now your group of friends changes. Allah might have paved this path for you so that you can now have new friends that keep you on the straight path and that influence you to go to mosque and pray together, go pray Jamaat namaz together. Like, it just, there's good that comes out of what we think might not be good.
Yeah, I completely agree. It literally brought me to when you let go of something that you might think was nice for the sake of Allah, you're going to get so many more benefits from it and so many more things. Allah will give from what you gave kind of situation. Because if Allah's already giving us things without us asking for it, if we're giving something for Him, He's going to give us 10 times more. Like, 100%. He's going to give us so much. It's an only example I can think of right now is like, for example, giving up, this is really like random example, but for example, giving up gummies for gelatin or something. And, or like there's something that we're eating that we stopped eating because it was not good for you and you know that. But there was a situation where I found out later that there was an ingredient that we couldn't eat anymore. And I completely gave it up. It was really sad. It hurt. I thought it was never going to find something equivalent. And I found so many equivalent things to that item or that food, and on top of that I found out why that ingredient was not allowed for us and all the bad things that it does to your body, and not even to just your body but to your mind, because at the time I didn't even know the downsides of that ingredient. And then later I found out. And it's like in any situation, a lot of the time we see one side, we see the loss, we're like so sad about it until we see past it. And then we realize
the wisdom behind it, right?
Literally the wisdom behind it.
Surface level, in right now, what I see, if I lose a job opportunity, and I was so excited for this job opportunity because it looks like this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I want. This is where my life is going. I'm going into this field. Maybe I'm trying to get into a particular program or, and I'm like, I've set my mind that this is where my success is. And if I don't get it,
you're going to be broken. But you don't realize that maybe there was another opportunity right around the corner that was 10 times better than that opportunity. And Allah just wanted to save you from the loss of the other one.
Yeah, because we don't know what's, like Allah might be like, you're so, it could, again, A, be a test, or B, it could be that there's something better, right?
And I could talk about this topic for a long time. There's just so much that comes out of it. And it makes us so happy that we have Allah. Honestly, like straight up, I'm so lucky. I feel so grateful to be Muslim and to have the opportunity to have these resources that can make me feel so happy and so content. Because there are people struggling in their like mental because they don't know where to go or what to do. And we were born with this opportunity where we have it.
Alhamdulillah for being Muslim, because I have a way out of my problems.
There's so many things that we're saved from and so many openings. There's doors that are opened for us that are not opened for a lot of people. And
I'm getting into the definition really quick of Muslim submission to God.
yes.
Right? So even if you're one of my Christian friends listening in, because I have a couple who are very God conscious, and while we might share different religions and have
I really
different
think that's
beliefs, I
important.
think they also have tawakkul. Like
They do.
they do. Like we bring it out in each other, and I think
It's
that's so
really, I
beautiful.
have a Christian friend who I'm really close to, if you're watching this. But she, there's a lot of things that she has done that reminded me of my religion. It's actually insane. She had so much knowledge on her religion, and that really reminded me to look into mine too. And yeah, so I think all of us, we
to be
are
God
lucky, and
conscious.
we have a lot of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, we have a lot of opportunity from where we are. That brings us to the end of our podcast for today.
Thank you all for tuning in. It was great having you all here. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback, the comments. We
you
have really
so much.
appreciated all the support and, sharing that this podcast exists, because it gives us a reason to keep going. And
It
even though
does.
this is just the beginning, it's good to know, even if one person was listening in, but it's the fact that it's more than one person. There's many of you listening, and that to us is the most beautiful thing. And
Thank
I
you.
think
Thank
one
you.
thing I wanted to add about this podcast was that, what will truly keep us going this will keep us on the deen, because
Mm-hmm.
we can't succeed in this podcast without being genuine to Allah. Like,
Definitely.
we have to keep our intentions
That's
so
another
pure about
reason I
this
started.
podcast. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a part of this because it helps me study more.
Exactly.
I
That
put
as
in
well,
the
yeah.
research this morning, and
And you have to live by the things we talk about.
yeah,
Which
it
is
reminds
why, like,
us we
again,
kind of
when
have
we were
to.
choosing the podcast topic, it comes down to what topic can we best represent, right?
Quite literally.
And
I
yeah.
loved this topic. I remember last week I was so sad that I didn't talk about tawakkul. Like there was a point of the podcast, and then I
Yeah.
came home and I was like, I should have said tawakkul in this. And then you
now we
came, and
did.
now we did a
Now
whole
we did.
topic on it. So I love that.
I hope everyone got some haqq,
Yeah,
some facts, some truth from our podcast.
it's our haqq to spread the haqq at the Haqq Project. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye, Khalafis.
Bye, Kadafis, for the new year. That's actually insane.